In the study of Chinese painting, one of the most commonly established approach to classification is according to genre. An example of such genre is the subject of bird and flower, or huaniao. Huaniao paintings has its roots in the imperial academies and has been recorded since the Han Dynasty. Since the Southern Song, literati painters started to use plants as metaphors for their emotions. They reimagined the huaniao genre and used it mainly to express themselves rather than to mimic nature. From the mid-19th century, huaniao paintings became one of the most important genres in the developing Shanghai school, or Haipai. Shanghai was populated by merchants who were rich but denigrated by traditional Confucians. To reflect their social standing, these merchants bought art and antiques, a practice associated with the literati. Ren Yi, better known as Ren Bonian, worked in such an environment. He excelled in producing paintings that were literati in genre and format, but with the bold use of effects, colors, and popular subject matter that were visually pleasing to laymen. Ren Yi was most celebrated for his large-sized huaniao and figure paintings, many of which decorated the homes and reception halls of the Shanghai merchants. Huaniao was where Ren Yi best demonstrated the breadth of his art practice. His techniques ranged from the meticulous shuango technique of the Song Academy, boneless application of ink derived from the main Qing literati painters, and even color shading and chiaroscuro effects influenced by Western art. Ren Yi's huaniao revealed intense yet contrasting textures, and he often used multiple techniques within a single image. This textural quality is best seen in Ren Yi's depiction of birds' feathers. Ren Yi's naturalistic eye brought huaniao paintings back to Song aesthetic qualities and away from a literati focus on conceptual depth. The popularity of Ren Yi caused his take on the genre to dominate the later developments of huaniao paintings. After Ren Yi, huaniao painters became more and more interested in the idea of modernizing Chinese paintings with aesthetic ideas from outside of China. Besides the Haipai artists, the Cantonese Lingnan school also worked with this ideal and incorporated Japanese techniques into huaniao paintings. These ideas deeply influenced early Singaporean painters, many of whom studied in Shanghai. Chen Wen Hsi, one of Singapore's most important ink artists, was influenced by both Haipai and Lingnan practices. In a similar manner as Ren Yi, Chen Wen Hsi was keen to include new effects into his huaniao paintings. He often executed his birds with his fingers and on a brush. Drawing inspiration from Western abstraction, Chen's plants and birds are often reduced to basic forms that offer clues to the identity of the subject. His most important innovation was to use geometric abstraction, heavily influenced by Cubism, to morph the huaniao image into a single plane made of simple shapes. Chen Wen Hsi's art reflected the ideas of Singapore's art world in the 1950s, when they were eager to develop a local style of art. Chen Wen Hsi found this in a clever mix of Western and Eastern aesthetic forms, and arguably synthesized it best in his huaniao paintings. He is now recognized as one of Singapore's most important pioneer artists. The younger Singaporean artist Tay Bak Chang found yet another way to make huaniao paintings relevant to his time. Trained in the Nanyang Academy of Fine Arts under artist Tan Kian Po, Tay's paintings retained traditional ink techniques but used them in a bold and unexpected manner. Tay's use of abstraction in his paintings draw on the Chinese compositional technique of white space, or liu bai, introducing ideas from Western modern art movements such as color-filled painting. Tay simplified the application of ink and color in a way that is consistent with the spirit of huaniao aesthetics. Like Ren Yi, Tay focused on textures. He contrasts his highly textural stones with xie yi birds, which are captured with just a few dabs of his brush. Tay's huaniao paintings show that Chinese painting tradition can be resonant with contemporary aesthetics, and to be traditional does not necessarily mean to paint in old styles. The appeal of his paintings crosses generational and national boundaries, and brings the aesthetic ideas of Chinese art to a broader audience. Huaniao paintings have been painted for more than 1,000 years. Yet at every time, artists have renewed the genre with their contemporary artistic inspirations. From Ren Yi to Chen Wen Hsi to Tay Bak Chang, huaniao paintings are both alike and very different at the same time. This series of lessons have emphasized that traditional painting techniques and formats, some nearly 1,000 years old, can be relevant to our times and ideas today. Just as the earlier generation of Singaporean artists took these ideas and used them in a way that made sense to them, artists today continue to do the same. Art, after all, is a reflection of ourselves and our times.